And no, there's nothing that can't be fixed or repaired. You know, feel free to play that back and send me all like 9-part harmony of it. That would be really nice.
Voice 2, verse 1. Voice 5, verse 1. I'm gonna have a go at doing some guitar takes. Third. So we'll do verse 6. Verse 6, take 1. 7, verse 3 and 4. Voice 9, verse 3. 8.
Last week, I worked on my first multi-track, multi-camera, multi-performer video making a reharmonization of Gavin Osborn's Starzecs. With the video now released, I wanted to talk a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes of making this kind of video work, talking about the kind of software that I used, and the general steps that I went through to bring it to life. Looking back on the project, I wanted to see if I could break it down into a number of steps, a number of high-level processes that would get me from nothing to having created a video. And so I've created these 4 basic steps for making things. Step 1, the idea. Step 2, the material. Step 3, presentation. Step 4, delivery. So what do I mean? Well, in this case, for my particular project, the idea is to harmonize Gavin's performance. The material is the gathering of the audio and the video recordings. The presentation is going to be combining that into one video cohesively, so it all fits together. And then the delivery is to upload that to YouTube, and this is what I'm going to be using to structure the video. Before I talk more about that, I'm just going to quickly run through the software that I use. I've marked whether or not something costs money or whether or not it's free to download. So the main 3 areas, so for anything audio based, I'll typically start working in Cubase Pro. For recordings, so screen captures, and even just for recordings which look like they're from a phone, so the sort of portrait ones, I used OBS. For any video editing, I use DaVinci Resolve. And then just the extra things on the side, which are useful to be aware of. For the sheet music, so for the actual notation of Gavin's original performance, I did that in Cubase Pro. Just the resource sharing was taken care of via like a OneDrive folder, so I sent that with, you know, the guide track and the lyric sheet and the score to people in a OneDrive folder. They typically sent back all their files via WeTransfer or through Messenger, you know, whatever actually worked. Because I was basing all of this around a live streamed audio recording, there were some clicks and pops every now and then. So to treat that and to make it a little smoother, I used iZotope's RX7. And then finally for graphic design, which essentially is just sort of like for me to be able to work out how all the different scenes are going to fit together, I used Inkscape. So those are the main bits of software that I used for that. The idea of this came directly from Gavin. You know, at the end of his set, some people were talking about how they were singing the harmonies along at home.
Yeah, Claire's trying to do the harmonies.
And then he was like,
feel free to play that back and send me all like 9-part harmony of it. That would be really nice.
I think what was so nice about this particular idea was the fact that the performance was part of a remote festival celebrating Keynsham, the K-Town ISO Fest. It had lots of Keynsham musicians, and the song itself was about Keynsham. It was about a particular shop that is still open to this day on the high street. In terms of timescale, I basically had a free week, so I was like, yeah, a week sounds like a really good amount of time to be able to dedicate to this. And funnily enough, I've already had a bit of experience with harmonizing this particular tune. At the Keynsham Music Festival in 2018, I was part of a choir, and I actually arranged and then sort of taught the choir how to sing this tune, accompanying Gavin on the bandstand, which was such a wonderful moment as well. So it's been a particularly special tune for me in general in my sort of 2 and a bit year history living in Keynsham. Materials. For me, the area of materials is the one that covers the most ground for this particular project. You know, like a full page of notes. We're just going to cover this in sort of 3 main categories, sort of roughly in chronological order. So the first is that we need to make our guide track for the guest performers to actually perform along to, so that we can actually make sure that it matches up. to have the guest performers record their audio and videos, and this runs kind of simultaneously to the third part, which is for me to write, record, and video my part to the arrangement. To make the guide track for each of the performers to actually sing along to sort out their recordings, first of all started off with just screen capturing the original recording from Gavin's Facebook Live performance. I then did a little bit of audio treatment just on the audio file using Isotope's RX7, just to remove a few of the clicks and pops which are totally standard from, or broadcast live audio.
Factory.
For the track itself, added some starting notes and the count in 1, 2, 3, 4. And then re-rendered the actual video with both of those things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alongside that, I notated what Gavin actually sang and made some lyric sheets to then make into PDFs to then be able to provide the guest performers with that as well. I then asked for the performers to record their videos in the portrait style that Gavin had done his original one, though a special shout out to Tom because he recorded his video before I said this, so there is a little bit of dodgy cropping and resizing on my part, and I'm entirely sorry, Tom, so this is my official apology for that. And then just said you can either sing the tune or a harmony part and just have fun. When you're actually recording the audio and the video, there's essentially two different ways of going about it. You can either record your audio and your video at the same time, so you're just making a video of you playing or singing the thing, or you can record the audio and then make a video of you dubbing yourself afterwards. There's definitely pros and cons of both ways. It's easier to just record the video and the audio at the same time, with headphones in to your phone, just using that camera, just using that microphone, it gets it done. It's all absolutely fine. And in a project where you don't necessarily care about the audio quality, then that's absolutely fine. What I tend to prefer personally doing is to record all the audio first with essentially higher quality microphones, and then to dub it back later with hopefully higher quality cameras as well. And it just kind of helps to separate the process, but realistically you can do it either way, and in this project we had definitely both ways being used. One of the main things to consider when you are dubbing is to make sure that you definitely play all the right notes. And then we get to my part, which is the actual reharmonization and the adding of all the different parts and instruments alongside. So this is the actual Cubase project that I used for doing it. So if we take a listen here, this is the actual introduction in all of its 9-part glory. See, we actually then have 10 and 11, so we actually have 11-part harmony there in the background, just because we needed the extra bass, because why have 9 when you can have 11?
Paradise to me.
Then, verse 2, we've got this,
Has gone the way of history.
Then I added some extra low parts to that as well. We got the bass duns here for verse 3. Dun, 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 dun. That lovely bit there, we've got some extra percussion. The piano. Here we go. Piano. Those bits and pieces. Yeah, and this is pretty much just all going on around the, underscoring what Gavin's doing. And all that lovely stuff. Presentation. So at this point it's worth taking stock of where we actually are. So we currently have all of the recordings, all of the videos, all of the audio files, everything that's actually going to be part of the eventual project. But now we actually put them all together. And the first step, having now recorded all of the videos and all of the audio, was to actually re-render them as new videos, which would all start from the same place. The end goal for this whole process is to make sure that we could just take all of the video files, import them all in, and have them all start at the same place, and them just fit together. Because the files would originally be at 1080 by 1920 pixel resolution. I wanted to make them all smaller because we didn't need them to be that size, so I instead had them all re-rendered to be at 540 by 960 because that would be exactly half size, and because I knew I was going to be using lots of the different bits of footage. I knew that I wouldn't need them all to be at the huge file size because, you know, video files are large. And this entire process of making new videos which were synced up and also of a more reasonable resolution to reduce file size to increase computer performance in future was probably the most important part of the whole process of actually putting together a project, which would involve maybe 25 videos, something like that. These are some of the sheets of paper I used for just sort of writing out various different figures, you know, like sort of when I finally realized, oh wait, 540 by 960 would be a really good idea, you know, re-render videos at half size, you know, this is generally me working out what to do in real time. Oh yeah, and John stabilize, yeah, of course. So one of the nice things that we can do in DaVinci Resolve, if we've got a wobbly video, we can just literally hit a button to stabilize it, and I did that on John's and on Stefan's videos.
Factory has gone the way of history.
So we're now in the actual master project for the whole video. So we actually see here all the different videos. So I'm just going to show you Becca's video in isolation. And if we just drag this video right to the very beginning, we have lots of black space. We have lots of black space. And then her video actually starts from here. But we don't need to see that because she's not actually in the video until this very moment in time. But having that bit of space then makes actually putting the eventual edits, it just makes that editing so much easier. And then we would find the place in the track we'd want her to start, which would be there. We'd put in a little bit of a fade in. You can kind of see there. So that's why it fades in like that. And that's again made possible through having rendered this video file again with a, you know, all of them having the same starting point. It just made life so much easier. You can, in DaVinci Resolve, you know, move videos around. We actually have the figures for them over here in the transform window. So then I actually wrote out the different values that we'd need for them. And then just did little bits of fine tuning. So I didn't really have, you know, like a grid plugin to sort of do this. I just did them all manually. Just these things around, painstakingly moving, like cropping by just singular pixels. You know, for example, if we took this one on the left and we wanted to give it a bit more of a border, I would be cropping it a bit further to the right and just going through in the smallest of increments. Then as the very final bit of advice for if you're putting these things together, you know, when you're doing titles and, you know, you've got your actual like bits of text at the very end, you know, make sure that you check people's spellings of names. And yeah, so that almost caught us out. But luckily, I believe all of these names are spelled correctly. And I just wanted to spend a little time to say thank you to all of these people for contributing to this, because, you know, it wouldn't be the same without them. So thank you so much. Delivery. And with that, the video is ready to be published. It was just a case of uploading it to YouTube, organising a conference call, getting all the performers to be involved in that, including Gavin, and then finally announcing to Gavin that this video even existed, because I'd managed to keep the whole thing a secret, and as did all the other performers. And, you know, really that's what made the whole thing so worthwhile for me, just that moment of being able to play it for all the performers and just to feel that we'd really made something which we could all really enjoy. So after checking that everyone was okay for it to go public, it was just a case of clicking from unlisted to public and then save changes, and suddenly a video is online. It's a video that I'm very proud of, and I really hope the performers who are involved feel similarly. And now I'm just looking forward to the next one. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I have rarely spent as long on a video, and the only video that I've spent as much time on is the video that this video is about. If you haven't checked it out, then please do. Please take a listen to my arrangement of Gavin Osborn's Starzecs. Please consider buying a copy of the album, which you can get from his Bandcamp. Please also consider donating to the Keynsham Food Bank, which this concert was initially in aid of. If you've got any questions or if you'd like me to talk about anything else in future, do let me know. And as always, thank you very much for your time and hope you have a great day. Take care.